Motion carried, 5 in favor. Thank you. Just also so everybody here is aware, we are streaming live tonight. So there may be some hiccups with that, but I just wanted everybody to be aware of that as we move forward. So our community will be able to hear our musicians from the middle school and hear about the great programs that we have. Okay, I want to now move on to approval of the agenda 1.5. And ask for a motion by a board member or to approve or not approve the agenda or amend it.
I would like to make a motion that we do not take any action on item 10.1 this evening, and rather we move it to a special meeting to be held on May 28th at 5 p.m. at the school board office.
So what I hear is a motion to amend the agenda to table action on 10.1 until the special meeting on May 28th at 5 p.m. at the school board office. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, that's
Do I have
correct.
a second on that?
Second.
Okay. Do we want to discuss that at all? Any comments, questions? Okay. Call for the vote. All those in favor of amending the agenda to table action 10.1 until May 28th, respond with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried 5-0. Okay. Moving on to 1.6, approval of the minutes from the April 16th regular monthly meeting and April 29th work session. I'll accept the motion.
To approve the minutes of the April 16th, 2024 regular monthly meeting and April 29th, 2024 work session as written.
Do we have a second?
I second it.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Motion carried. 1.7. As we do at every school board meeting, we highlight some of our Matthews County School Board governance norms and protocols. Just so you're aware, this is something that our school board reviews every year during the summertime to agree how will we work together and what's the expectation from each of our board members. So tonight, I'm going to highlight that we agree to the following protocols. That as far as developing our board agenda, the chair, vice chair, and the superintendent develop the agenda. Next item is placing items on the board meeting agenda. The board members contact the chairman to add an item to the agenda, and that information will be shared at the agenda setting meeting. Information should be sent to the chairman prior to the agenda setting meeting with the superintendent, which is at least 1 week prior to the board meeting. Okay. Moving on. Any questions about that? I think we've all agreed on that. We now have a presentation from Ms. Eileen Edmonds, our music teacher at Thomas Hunter Middle School. And thank you so much for taking the time out and for you coming tonight to entertain us. And we hope to see more of you next school year. So thank you so much. We will now move to 3.1, School Board Student Representative Report.
I do not have a report for the Matthews Elementary and Middle School, but I do have one for Matthews High School. On May 6, our seniors enjoyed getting their class picture taken, followed by their senior walk. We appreciate the warm reception from the elementary school and middle school. We enjoyed recognizing our cafeteria staff on May 3rd for School Lunch Hero Day and recognizing our teachers from May 6th through 10th for Teacher Appreciation Week. We truly appreciate all of our teachers. On May 14th, we welcomed our rising 8th graders for 8th grade orientation in the auditorium. On May 17th, we inducted our new athletes, coaches, and contributors to the 2024 Athletics Hall of Fame. On May 18th, we enjoyed the comedy of Coach Holliday, Sonia King, Sid Bridge, and Brent Leak as they generously donated their time for a fundraiser for the MHS Athletics Department. Congratulations to our crew team for their success at the state and national level during the past couple of weeks. Many boats experienced success. Special congratulations goes to our women's JV double of Sydney Collar and Scarlett Johnson for winning the state championship in that event. During the month of May, Matthews High School was also one of 27 schools in the Commonwealth to receive the Exemplary Performance Award from the Virginia Department of Education for outstanding increases in graduation rate during the past 4 years. We really appreciate the hard work of our school counseling department for going the extra mile to ensure students graduate on time. As we approach the end of the school year, we look forward to our spring concert from our music department on Thursday, May 23rd at 7 p.m. We're also excited about graduation on June 8th at 10 a.m. in the Harry M. Ward Auditorium. We are very proud of our seniors and all of their hard work to earn their diplomas.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Ms. Camp? Okay. If not, I would like to move to, let's see, next. 4.1, where Zoe, if you would come up here, I would like to recognize you for your service this year. You stay right there. I just want to thank you for serving as a student representative this year. You've done a fabulous job. You stepped it up the notch from previous ones, giving us a written report, which we greatly appreciate. It's nice to see things in writing. And you've been here, very faithfully. So thank you for that. And we look forward to hearing more from you as you move forward into your next phase of your life. Thanks.
Thank you.
I'd like now to move to 5.1, Virginia Preschool Initiative, VPI data. We have Mrs. Judy Emanuel, the pre-K teacher for Matthews Elementary School.
Hi, I'm Judy Emanuel. I'm the VPI preschool teacher of 4-year-olds.
And I'm Cindy Gray, principal at Matthews Elementary School. So, thank you. Is he telling us we have it? You got it? There we go. Okay. So the goal of VPI is to provide quality preschool program for at-risk children who are residents of Matthews County and not being served by Head Start. We have a state-approved curriculum, which is the creative curriculum. We follow the Matthews County Public Schools calendar, and we are also on the same timing. They come in on the bus, they leave on the bus. We have one highly qualified teacher and one paraprofessional with up to 20 students. And we document student achievement and performance through PALS, which phonemic awareness literacy screening, and VKRP, Virginia Kindergarten Readiness Program, and then also class observations.
Okay.
There we go. I think we went ahead one. Should be state. Okay, we go. So the state provides us criteria and that we can accept children. So the first thing is that they have to be 4 by September 30th. We have income requirements. Head Start is more stringent than BPI. And then we also accept students with IEPs. And we also accept students with a parent who did not complete high school, and if there's housing instability. And then we have a local criteria that we also use that is approved. You want to progress it? So we have a couple things here. Military deployment, single parent households, if children are in foster care, if they're English language learners, if a parent is incarcerated, if the student is raised by a relative or a non-parent, if they're a victim of abuse and trauma, or if they have no access to affordable child care in the community.
Question.
Yes, sir.
The IEP, did that somebody else do, or did the school do that?
No, that is part of the state. And usually, so you know, we have early childhood special education. We have 2 classrooms of that. And so normally, if students have speech issues, and that's part of early intervention, so we have quite a few students who receive speech to help develop that and set them smooth sailing in their academic career.
All right, so you're talking about some of the children from the high school that are in that program over there?
No, sir. So VPI, Virginia Preschool Initiative, is only at Matthews Elementary School.
Yes, I understand
Okay.
that.
And so Head Start is at the high school.
All right, so what I'm saying is if those kids are identified needing an IEP and a Head Start program, they bring that with them when they do go to this course or kindergarten.
So anybody who has an IEP, that would carry with them into kindergarten.
Okay.
But they could have an IEP at either location, VPI or Head Start.
Okay.
Okay, so we started BPI preschool in 2021 and 22. We had 11 students that year. Last year, we jumped up to 19 students, and this year, 14 students. Okay. We picked letter names and letter sounds to track data on. There's so much more to VPI than just letter names and letter sounds. We have fine motor, speech and language, social emotional, but we picked letter names. So at the beginning of fall 2022, 45% of students knew less than 10 letters, and 9% of students knew 10 to 30 letters, and 45% of students knew 30 to 52. So then we assessed in the spring, and 18% knew less than 10, 18% knew 10 to 30, and then 63% jumped to 30 to 52. Then we tracked the data of the beginning of the kindergarten year to see how they compared to the other kindergartners coming in, and only 9% fell below the benchmark for PALS, the fall benchmark. 18% fell above the benchmark, and then 73% fell significantly above the benchmark as they're ready for kindergarten. Letter sounds, 64% of students knew less than 5. 9% of students knew 6 to 14 letter sounds, and 27% of students knew 15 to 26. And then in the spring, 36 knew less than 5, 27% knew 5 to 14, and 36% knew 15 to 26. And then compared to the other peers coming into kindergarten, 9% fell below the PALS benchmark, 45% fell above the benchmark, and 45% were significantly above the PALS benchmark as they're ready for kindergarten. Then we looked at this year. And this year, 23% of the students came in knowing less than 10 letters. 31% of students knew 10 to 25. 46% of students knew 26 to 52. And then letter sounds, 69, let's keep going to letter names. Okay, 15% of students knew less than 10 in the winter, mid benchmarks. 31% knew 10 to 25, and 54% of students knew 26 to 52. I'm proud that 15% of students knew less than 10 at the end of this year, 15% of students knew 10 to 25, and 69% knew 26 to 52.
Good job.
Okay. Letter sounds, 69% of students knew less than 5 coming in, 31% of students knew 5 to 14, and 0% of students knew 15 to 26. So the mid-year PALs, 23% of knew less than 5, 62% jumped to 5 to 14, and 7% of students knew 15 to 26 letter sounds. And then 23% of students knew less than 5, 38% of students knew 5 to 14, and 38% of students knew 15 to 26 letter sounds. This is VKRP, so this is Virginia Kindergarten Readiness Program, and this is a math assessment. So we assess them in the fall and we assess them in the spring. This is a VKRP that also carries over to their kindergarten year. So in the fall, 50% of my students performed at the beginning stage of math readiness, and 46% of students performed at the growth stage, and 0% of students performed at the strong stage. But in the spring, 9% of students performed at the beginning stage, 15% of the students performed at the growth stage, and 77% of students performed at the strong stage for VKRP, for math readiness. Is this me or you? Me? Okay. It's okay.
Okay.
So we have class observations that are performed every fall and spring. Ms. Sanford comes in and observes, and she has some guidelines that she goes by from the state. In the fall, my score was 6.50 for the emotional support. Classroom organization was 16.58, and instructional support was 2.42. The highest score you can get is a 7. Spring emotional support was 6.38. My classroom organization was 6.75, and instructional support is 2.92. When you look at the state averages, emotional support average is 5.69, the classroom organization is 5.44, and the instructional support is 2.62 as the state average. This tests higher level thinking for preschool, and a lot of times preschoolers have to be taught how to.
It has to be developed.
It has to be developed. So we were still within the range of the state average for that.
What's the instructional support they do?
It's that higher level thinking. It's questioning, receiving feedback.
Deepening the learning experience. So trying to help students build connections and outside of what's immediately in front of them, but, you know, the classroom, the world, you know, and beyond.
I mean, to follow up on Mr. Dobson, can you just take a little snippet about what each one kind of entails? Emotional support, classroom organization. It sounds to me at first glance that it would be more about the teachers being evaluated by the terms they use versus the students.
It is. Emotional support is like positive reinforcement. Are we caring to the kids' needs? Are we, interacting with them appropriately? It's a lot of social emotional support. And then the classroom organization is a lesson prepared in an organized fashion. Do the kids know what to do? Are they trained well to know the procedure coming next? Mm-hmm. So that's a classroom organization. And I think we touched on instructional support with how we question them within stories or activities, maybe some STEM learning, things like that, hands-on, where there's lots of conversations going on.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
I'd like to make a comment. I've had the privilege to work with your class in the past, and am I on?
There you are.
Okay. Had the privilege to be in your class and with your students in the past, and the difference from the fall to the spring, and then over the summer when they come back and you see them again, it's amazing. So hats off to you.
Thank you. I came across a picture of you, yes, the other day, of you showing them the map of Russia. So she came to read to my kids this year. Thank you.
First of all, I need to echo what my colleague here said. It is exciting. This data is it's uplifting. There still remains seeing that 9% is what I see over and over again. So I'm wondering to hear from your thoughts about, is there anything else that we can provide you or the curriculum to help that marginal
So-
group before they enter kindergarten? And maybe I should have asked this first. We don't know the third grade data because these are the first year, they're just in second grade now, I believe, right? So we don't know that they've reached the third grade and that they've made a difference in their reading SOL scores.
That is
I got that
correct.
right? Okay.
That is true.
So I just would like kind of your big picture thoughts about this.
So this year, I'm proud to say I have my first ESL student, English of Second Language, and he is learning English every day, but he is in that percentile where he's not learning letters yet, but it's coming. So
But we're expanding his vocabulary,
Every
helping him
day.
get to know the routines of the school, so that when he comes to kindergarten, he understands, what's expected, how we do school, and it will help him be more successful.
Well, that piece is very helpful because, he's,
I thought that
starts
when
in
I
a
was
different
typing
place.
it in, yes. And then I have another one that I've spoken to Mom about letting him stay back with me. He had some attendance issues and some social emotional things. So, this is part of preschool, figuring all that out. But that's part of the percent.
Dr. Gibbs, do you have any questions? Dr. Gibbs, do you have any questions for them?
Yes, one comment regarding the ELL student, which that will greatly, I can imagine, impact these numbers. That Mr. Morgan brought this to our attention. We will be getting more information about our ELL students at next month's meeting, but that is something that if you need additional resources, that would be a target area or training to be able to help these students appropriately. Let us know.
I would be very receptive of that. That would be wonderful.
Any other questions, colleagues?
Yes, I got one more. Looking at your charts here, the kids that carry over from spring, winter, or winter to spring, I'm looking at the ones that are having problems. Do they stay the same? Because some of the numbers almost match.
Kids, their score changes as they grow and get better. Their scores are improving.
Well, you have a couple here that were running about the same. You got, let's see, this would be letter names and labels, letter sounds. Fall 23, less than 10, 23%, less than 10, 15%, and then spring, less than 10, 15%. So it stayed pretty even across.
And depending on the child, sometimes that does happen.
All right.
But the children themselves can change.
All right, but what do you have to make them get better?
We differentiate our groups, so we give more remediation to those kids who need more help. Also, if they go to kindergarten and they're still slightly behind, we have PAL support that comes from the reading specialist in kindergarten as well.
And we also have support from our ESL teacher, Mary Beth Burrows, as well.
do you get any help from possibly the reading or speech?
Oh, yes.
Person.
Ms. Simpson is a very good friend of ours.
Okay.
This helps them get early intervention for speech concerns
Okay, good.
in our program.
Any other questions? This has been, first of all, thank you for taking the time to come tonight to present this information. I look forward to seeing where this leads in future years. As we know, one measurement is our third grade reading SOL. But thank you for your commitment to these children.
Thank
It's
you.
near and dear to my heart, so thank you very much.
Thank
And thank
you.
you, Ms. Gray, for coming as well.
Thank you.
Thank you both. We will now move to 6.1, the spring universal screening data, grades 1 through 8. Dr. Daniel.
I'm not sure how much voice I'm going to have this evening because I'm one of the army of people who seem to have gotten some sort of ailment over the last several days. So I'll try to get through the spring universal screening data and answer what questions I can. So if you remember, we started STAR universal screening in the winter. It was a situation where we had some grade levels who were using STAR, some grade levels were using other instruments to kind of assess where their students were. We made a decision as we're looking to become a MTSS school division that we needed to have a consistent universal screener. So we implemented across basically from first grade through 8th grade the STAR. So we had the same measurement for our kids over multiple years, and we can track kids from grade level to grade level. So we administered that in the winter. Some grade levels administered it very quickly. We probably were not the best in terms of communicating, giving teachers kind of enough time, and teachers prepping their students for what this assessment was, especially those who were used to giving other screenings. So what we wanted to do was make sure we do a winter and then follow up in the spring. So the spring testing occurred late April to give teachers time to get some of the data back, make adjustments, look at remediation strategies prior to our SOL tests. Once we finish all of our SOL testing, we're going to go back and look at individual student SOL performance and then compare that to their universal screening performance and look at how reliable, how predictable is the STAR. The STAR publishers tell us it's very reliable and very predictable, but we'll do some analysis on our end to kind of see how well it predicts for Matthews. So if you look at first grade math, you'll see kind of a drop off. And what we'll do is we'll go back with different grade levels and have conversations about what that data means. It could be a pacing differential. It could be, hey, we're focusing on PALs, so we're taking more instructional time and looking at reading inventories and reading performance and reading skills leading up to the universal screening in math. Or it could be just pacing guides or coverage. So what the data allows us to do, especially in situations like this, is go back and have conversations with teachers to dive into the data and make decisions about what can be done differently, whether it's a curriculum piece, whether it's an intervention piece, whether it's a timing piece, et cetera. So you'll see over the course of looking at these, the majority, I would say, show improvement, show gains from the winter to the spring. Some are relatively flat, and there's some data that goes down a little bit. And so that's where we go back and we have questions or have conversations about kind of what happened, what do we need to do differently, if anything. Okay, so I know that the print is pretty tiny, so the numbers at the bottom are a collection of what is in the green and the blue. So that's kind of a predictability for SOLs. Obviously, we don't take SOLs in second grade, But the publisher, that's kind of the metric that they give us. So green and blue kind of together is basically where what you would expect kind of an SOL pass rate to be. Again, once SOLs are finished, then we'll go back and see kind of does that hold true for us. But basically what we want to see is more green, more blue, less red, less yellow. And so in this situation, you see from winter to spring, you see a pretty significant reduction in red and you see a growth in yellow, but you see that migration from where we had a lot in the red in the winter time and a reduction in that going to the spring. So there's some growth.
I do have a question about what they're being measured against. So am I understanding that those in green in grade 2, if we're given the third grade, okay.
Yeah.
It's
So
second
what?
grade
Yeah.
level is
So
what
it's
we're
not.
doing.
What this is, so there's a little dotted line, horizontal dotted line, and that's that's kind of a national norm for all the kids in second grade in the nation who are taking STAR, and so that's kind of their benchmark. Renaissance, who organizes and implements STAR, does an analysis and says at that benchmark or at that kind of green and blue levels, that's roughly what we would suggest to you is a passing on an SOL. That analysis doesn't fit so well for second grade, but that's how they purport it to subscribers. Again, we'll see. So grade 2 math. Grade 3 reading. Grade 3 math. Again, a good piece to look at is sort of looking at the colors. So the numbers may not change a whole lot, but when you're looking at how many students are in that red or in that yellow zone and how they're kind of moving, and we're reducing the number of students who are well below benchmark, or in this case, it's urgent need for intervention. So that reduction of that red is significant for us down the road. So grade 4 reading. I think in the upper grades, you start seeing a pretty significant, some significant changes. And that's not to disparage the lower grades. It's just what the numbers show us right now with STAR. Okay, 4th grade math. Again, some significant jumps. Some 5th grade reading. Again, some nice growth. 5th grade math. 6th grade reading. I'm happy to stop if y'all want to, if you have specific questions. There's a kind of a cumulative graph at the end that helps to kind of break the data out a little bit.
Looking at this chart, it seems like up to the 5th grade, you're running about 25% under. And then 6th and 7th grade, you're running about a third under. What are we doing about that?
So these are snapshots, so they're not an in-depth, they're not a long test. It's kind of a snapshot in a place and time. So if you think about your grandkids or kids maybe taking selfies, how many times do they take selfies in order to get a really good shot? So sometimes the snapshot isn't a true indication. So what we want to do is take a look at these snapshots along with other data points. But what we do is we go back and at the elementary school they have grade level data meetings, and they go back and work with teachers and ask, okay, what is this data telling us? And then, so what we're doing is we're having more conversations about our intervention programs.
All right, take the 7th grade.
Okay, 7th grade reading or math?
Right. Let's take both of them.
Okay.
In the winter, it was 56, 44 lit. And then in the summer, it was 6734.
Are we looking at
So
the
they
same
actually
chart?
came up. Okay?
I just want to make sure we're looking at the same chart, Mr. Duff.
Well, I used the bottom chart to work with, because
Okay.
I couldn't read the other charts.
Okay, so
So-
you want to look at this one?
So,
Is that,
you did better, but when you get up to the 8th grade, it, from the winter to summer, you went down, especially in reading.
do me a favor, are we looking, is that the chart you're looking at?
Yeah.
Okay, so in this situation where it's green versus kind of the pink color, so what I tried to do was highlight, so if it's green, like an increase at benchmark, I highlighted in green. If we increased in some of the other areas, I would have deemed that in some situations as a negative. But if we've reduced the number of urgent need of intervention, so if that number reduced, those students may be migrating up to that intervention level. So that may increase. That may be a good thing, okay? Because it's going to be super difficult, especially at the upper middle grade levels, to have students make 2 grade levels worth of gains in a single school year. It gets harder to remediate students in reading the older they get. So if we're reducing that urgent need, that's going to be a good sign, and that may then indicate an increase at some of the other levels as we kind of go up the line, if that makes sense.
Well, now you're up at the 8th grade level. If you're not reading on an 8th grade level, you're going to have problems,
Agreed.
okay? You're going to continue to go down every year. I don't see anybody getting to the 8th grade that's under, really recouping where they're at.
And part of this process is for us to be able to have conversations based on data and really having hard conversations on what our student performance data looks like all the way through the year, and developing that process in our school division to where we have data at incremental points during the year to make adjustments as we need to. Historically, kind of what we've been doing is waiting for SOL scores and then making adjustments. And so we've started having those data meetings, making adjustments, having conversations about, is it a curriculum? Like, do we have a curriculum issue? Do we have a pacing issue? Do we have an intervention issue? Do we have a staffing issue? Do I need to kind of deploy staff in different ways to make sure that we have the supports in place for classroom teachers? So part of this is sort of peeling back the onion and looking at the different layers of what we're doing and how kids are achieving to be able to make better decisions for kids.
I do have a question. I
Sure.
didn't track when you were talking, so let's look at this screen.
Okay.
Grade 6, and so looking at math, and I guess the fall, it was 15 under urgent, and now it's 22, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that pink means what? To me,
We went the wrong direction.
Pardon?
Pink means we went the wrong direction.
Correct. Oh, I would agree. When you say 22, that's, okay. So, so I didn't understand when you said sometimes it might mean it's a good thing. I didn't track that.
Right, so let me find an example. So in this case, if you look at the 8th grade, and I didn't put it in green in this situation, but if you look at 8th grade math in the spring,
Yes.
so we went from 23 at the urgent level, and then we went to 9.
Yes.
But intervention moved up to 13. Okay, so that theoretically, according to my rules, what it should have been, that should have been green. While it's an increase in intervention, I think it's safe to assume that reducing some of that, some of those 14 kids moved up the line and helped increase. Does that make sense?
Yeah, they're not urgent anymore. They moved to intervention.
Right,
which
so
is
it's
moving in the right direction.
right. So it's not a hard and fast like this number means this number is always great, this number is always bad. It's kind of looking at, you'd have to go down almost to the student level and see which students are remaining at the urgent level, which students have moved from urgent to intervention, maybe moved from on watch down to urgent. Did that kid just sort of blow off the test that day? Did they have a bad day? Were they an attendance issue over the last, were they sick for the last 2 weeks or something along those lines?
Thank you.
So those are kind of the data questions that have to unfold.
Dr. Gibbs, do you have any questions?
I just wanted to say I really appreciate this information, and I think the more that we see this on a regular basis, we're seeing a foundation of baseline knowledge being developed for our benefit to launch from and to make these kind of scalpel moves in how we're intervening, and I think it's awesome, and we will soon have piles of data that we can compare, and this is all going in the right direction towards student achievement. We're not where we want to be, but we're on the path to getting there. I'm confident of that.
Thank you. Any other questions from colleagues? Okay. Is there any kind of takeaway that you have from this? Anything that was not asked that good or bad? Good or
I
frustrating, should say?
think overall, like the reason I kind of did the charts, these last two slides, is to show that there was an awful lot of growth. When you just look at kind of those the green kind of band and that blue band, it doesn't always reveal the changes of where the student growth is happening. So by trying to highlight the different category areas, it shows that there's really good work happening in our classrooms. We've got a lot of work still in front of us, and we've got to make some decisions about what we're doing, and we're looking at master schedule and staffing and trying to hire great people and retain great people. So that's part of the equation. So like we're moving in the right direction. There's just a lot of work in front of us.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We will now move to 7.0, citizens' questions, comments, or requests. 7.1, we will accept comments not pertaining to personnel or student matters, and you are limited to one opportunity of 3 minutes. Please state your name, address for the school board clerk. The protocol for public comment period for Matthews County residents and school employees wishing to speak should sign up with their name and address on the sheet if provided. The comment period will end after 90 minutes if we have many people that want to speak. All comments should be directed to the school board speakers, shall not address matters involving students or personnel, as these topics may violate confidentiality and are not appropriate in a public forum. Public comment is the school board's opportunity to listen to the speaker. Since our purpose is to hear from you, the board will not engage in dialogue with the audience or whomever is at the podium. Matters requiring a response will be directed to the superintendent for research and response. The superintendent may report back on such matters at a subsequent business meeting session as appropriate. The school board carefully considers your comments when deciding on matters brought before us. We do appreciate your attendance and your input. The first person that signed up is Charles Ware III.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lieutenant Charles Ware III. I am here, I live in Cobbs Creek here in Matthews. I'm here on behalf of my son who received a concussion while playing soccer with one of his teammates. The reason I'm actually wanting to come here is primarily to talk about the NJROTC program that William is a part of. He was one of the first initial 2 that won the opportunity to become part of that program, and it is now we have 3 one came in. So it's actually, if you think about it, just in its initial phase, we're actually gaining a student from another county just with this program alone. And from my understanding, there's one more coming in the wing that's interested. So that's showing growth and interest right there. All right. I want to go ahead and talk about William. This child has grown so much with this program. From a father's point of view, I can't thank you guys enough for allowing that. William has attained the rank of Petty Officer Second Class, which is the highest rank possible for a freshman. He was one of about 10 that attained that rank in this time period. He has worked his butt off. With that, about his achievements that he has actually attained, he's gained the aptitude achievement, the naval science achievement, the exemplary conduct, exemplary appearance. His platoon took part of a leaders challenge and a leaders cup, and his platoon won. Part of that is community service as part of that cup. William has also attained the community service award. He has worked over 70 hours of community service in and around not only this county, but also Gloucester. He has done his due diligence with trying to represent and spearhead this program. He is trying to put the best foot forward to try to keep this program going. Unfortunately, because of his concussion that he received while playing soccer from one of his teammates, he's not able to attend tonight. His leadership and his drive to keep representing Matthews as best as possible, he ended up aggravating his injury. So he's at home resting. Will has many, many goals that he has learned and aspirations that has developed from this program. His intent is on the 27th, on the next meeting, is to present himself and explain in person all the facets that you guys have and opportunities that you guys have presented for him. He's representing Matthews very, very well in another county. That is primarily, I know, based off of the rules and things like that, I can't go into any more details on his injury or anything like that. So I'm going to leave that off the table. But I did want to present that information to you guys and how much of a success the NJROTC program that Matthews has been a part of has been.
Thank you. 3 minutes are up. Is it Lieutenant, you said?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Lieutenant Ware. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Anne Marie Haywood.
Good evening, school board members. My name is Anne Marie Haywood. I'm from Port Haywood, Virginia. Am I close enough? I am the guardian and bonus mom of rising 8th grader Kira Cannon, and I'm missing her ball game to stand here before you tonight. While some that may not be much, but I can assure you in our home, sports comes before food, so for me to be here is huge. In the wake of the rush transition of the 8th grade to the high school, I find myself here today wondering why. When the rush vote happened 2 months ago, we were told how good this was going to be and how many new opportunities would be available to our students, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Only to find out the high school would take the easy way out and fast track our children backwards. At the opening of the orientation, we were advised with much enthusiasm and attaboys to themselves that they had hired someone and the schedules for the 8th grade were 95% done and a big slide of what they had decided. A big standout was the wheel of electives. What is that? It looks just like 6th grade, all the students taking the same classes. Where is the FCS class that was promised, or advanced art or technology that those students have been taking in the 7th grade? So my child and all the others have to take electives only for 9 weeks of the ones that they would like, and spend the remainder of the year retaking classes that they determined 2 years ago that they did not want to explore? Where exactly is the growth and opportunity? Where are the advanced English, maths, and sciences? Stripped away just like the kids' year of being upperclassmen and any work on confidence and maturity that comes with that. We were also advised that the students will take no classes with high schoolers. You can't have this both ways. They are not middle school high schoolers. You can have one or the other. Either leave them in the middle school and allow them to attend the classes that they should have been offered, or allow them the opportunities that just a few short weeks ago were being waved around as a reasoning for the transition in the first place. I ask of you that you do the right thing by our children and do not let an administration just take the easy way out. If the transition has to happen, let's do it for growth and opportunity that was promised. Please reconsider the children taking electives with the 9th through 12th graders. Ensure the advanced students are allowed elevated education in core subjects. And last but definitely not least, do not force 2 blocks of math on all students just so the schedules are now 95% complete. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Stephanie Tiller?
Hello.
Would you just also just repeat your name and your address? I know you wrote it down.
Thank you. My name is Stephanie Tiller. My address is 552 Sunset View Lane, Matthews, Virginia. I'm going to read an email I sent today to you, Ms. Hodges, and to Dr. Gibbs. I'm a parent of a rising 7th grader. I attended the March school board meeting and listened to Dr. Daniels' presentation on the move of 8th grade to the high school. I was encouraged to hear the parents that spoke up at that time about their concerns, given such short notice, and I did leave feeling that the pros outweighed the cons. I also left feeling that the decision was already made by Dr. Daniels, despite the vote by the board. I have talked to some current 7th grade parents, and they are concerned that this transition is not going smoothly or as promised. If not executed well, I fear we will lose some of our wonderful teachers and students for those that can afford to go to private school. I've always been an advocate for Matthews schools, and I felt that my advanced student, Liam, has been given a lot of opportunities to receive additional resources to excel. One of the selling points to me for the 8th grade transition was that he would get access to advanced classes as an 8th grader without being bused to the high school. I'm now hearing that may not be the case. I know you're going to address that after this comment period. But my biggest concern is that more students will leave the system, reducing our numbers, which then will affect our budget. And that will negatively impact the students who do need that additional resources on the other end of the spectrum. I think that's all I have to say. I feel like there needs to be a little bit more communication to the teachers and students and the parents during this transition time. Thank you.
Thank you. John Matheson? You would state your name and address, please.
John Matheson, 46 Edwards Creek Lane in Gwynns Island. I just wanted to come briefly here and thank everyone, to members of the board, Dr. Daniels, for your support and the community's support to our Dine to Donate. A couple weeks ago at Richardson's, we raised $2,060. 100% of that's going to be going to the teachers for back to school. We'll be working with the PTAs at all 3 of the schools, arranging for what they're going to need for the fall. But it was heartening to see the community come out and basically say we love our teachers. We want to support them, and they did exactly that. But I also appreciate you, the Board of Supervisors, and the members coming out and also being part of that community and everyone seeing your faces out there. That was a wonderful, wonderful thing for this community. The second thing briefly is Gwynns Island is looking forward on June 3rd to hosting the 6th grade. They will be coming out on a field trip with 3 stops, one at the Gwynns Island Museum, one at Oyster Seed Holdings, where VIMS will also be doing some science work with them, and the third stop will be at the Coast Guard. So they'll be spending about 45-50 minutes each at those 3 areas, and we'll then have them hosted for lunch over at the Civic Center. So it's good to see the kids coming back to Gwynns Island and visiting our museum, and finally a lot of them are going to say, you know what, we do have an island here in Matthews. So thank you so much again for your support, and I'm sure the teachers are going to enjoy that extra money so they don't have to make those payments themselves in the fall. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jessica Christensen?
Good evening, Jessica Christensen, 128 Veterans Way, Hudgens. I have already voiced my concerns to a few of you this week, so I hope I'm not catching you off guard, and you kind of got a little taste of it earlier about the 8th grade move to the high school. I've worked hard to have a positive attitude about it since the announcement for my students' sake, and I know the MHS staff is doing their best to create a welcoming space for the 8th graders, as they've been tasked to do. But after the orientation last week, I have a lot of concerns. Dr. Daniel presented a proposal back in March where he listed pros and cons. I tried to print them out to have props, but it didn't print. I mentioned it was going to refer, that I was going to refer back to the cons from time to time to just say, let's check up, let's make sure we don't have those out there. Unfortunately, after the orientation, I feel like a lot of the pros have kind of moved to the cons column. For instance, the electives wheel. 8th graders will not be offered expanded high school elective options next year. Instead, they're going to be taking the shortened elective sessions. And as I understand it, this wheel is composed of classes the students have already explored in 5th and 6th grade. While my student and a few others I know adore some of these staff members that will be teaching these classes, they're not really looking forward to starting high school and experiencing a repeat of 5th grade options and resource classes. There's no additional high school credit options besides band, which some have already chosen not to continue with after 6th grade. There is talk of a strategies for success elective, which I'm going to be honest, sounds like a glorified study hall to me. I don't know if that's the case, but I can't see any other way around it. It's study skills, and it just doesn't seem to apply to a lot of these students. I hope more opportunities will be considered for them. The next pro that leans a bit on the rumor and gossip side, it definitely does. And I know back in March I thought this moved the 8th grade to the high school was definitely rumor and gossip until it wasn't in an instant. So this one I'm going to take like it is as well. It might surprise me. We were told students were not going to be bused back and forth between the middle school and the high school for geometry with this change. However, I am hearing from multiple sources that busing might happen for 8th and 9th graders to make this elective wheel happen. I just don't understand if that's a fiscally responsible decision. I also don't know if that is going to negatively impact student achievement, which is your #1 goal that we keep hearing over and over again. Busing, creating just chaos within the school day just sounds like it's not leaning towards student achievement. And last, it's not necessarily a pro or a con per se, but this was possibly the hardest thing for me to hear personally. 8th graders are further advised, they were told that we will not have honors or advanced core classes in 8th grade. None. That was written in the handout that was distributed. 8th graders were further advised to keep their grades up if honors classes are the track they would like to pursue in the future. And I know I've already had meetings with some of you about differentiation not occurring or being phased out in many classes. So cutting classes that challenge some of these students, advising them to go into a holding pattern for a year, it just makes me question student achievement. Which students
are there only certain students that we're looking in 8th grade to help achieve or to keep at certain levels?
Ms. Christensen, your 3 minutes are up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah, and I may butcher this name, Sarah Sursky? I'm not sure. Pardon? It's Sonia, she had to leave. Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that did not sign up that would like to speak at this time for the public comment period?
We had a civic organization, one of our groups I'm with, met last night, and a former Matthews High School graduate was our speaker, Katina Ward James, who is now the online director of online education at Hampton University. And she came to introduce a program for anybody who is 50 and older can get a bachelor's degree online at Hampton University free of cost. So she left that information, and we have a packet for each of you, and a few packets for anybody else who might want one. But you can go online. The application to sign up is there. There's some other programs as well. She also talked about the fact that at graduation last week, they had more than 30 people who graduated with teaching degrees. So if you're looking for teachers, a lot of them are looking for jobs. But for the program, the online program for adults, again, they have a lot of teaching and education things in that free program as well. But for free, you could get a bachelor's for anybody 50 and over. So,
okay. Thank you. And would you please give us your address, Ms. Turner? I failed to ask you. Thank you.
Thank you all.
And it's free. Let me make sure I understand that. Free. It's free for 50 or olds.
Absolutely free.
There was some caveats.
Go ahead.
If you had gone into the school system or gone to college and then you did not finish your degree and you've been out for 5 years or more, you can go to Hampton University. They will, in fact, give you the rest of your education for free.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else here would like to speak publicly during this comment period? Okay. Well, at this time is our school board comments in response to what has been publicly raised by the last 7 speakers. If anybody wants to comment on that. And then I may turn it over to Dr. Daniel.
I would like to comment. I was of the impression with some of you all. I thought if a child qualified to take higher grades, that they would be able to do so. And I think they should. I asked last Monday, I was there Monday night, and I asked a question about wood shop or carpentry. And they said it would not be open to 8th graders. When I was in what was called junior high, that's 7th, 8th, and 9th, we had wood shop, metal shop. So I don't see why, if an 8th grader wanted to take carpentry, that they wouldn't be allowed to. So as far as I'm concerned, if the student is qualified to take the class, they should be able to take it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
No, I got a little bit more. I want to thank the 2 Anthonys from last Wednesday night. There was a US 250 concert given at the high school, and they donated their time to hook up the mics and everything for that concert. So I appreciate it, guys. Lieutenant Ware, did he say that his child...
Unfortunately, he left right after.
I know. Did he say his child would not be available next year for ROTC?
No, what I heard him say was that his son had a concussion, couldn't be here as he wanted.
Okay,
He would
I
come
wanted to
next
make...
month, I believe.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure of that. I was at the ROTC commencement last Friday night at Gloucester High. I was proud. We had 3 children there. And I believe all 3 of them got Cadets of the Year citations. This program is unbelievable. They had 18 kids that ended up with pilot's license for flying drones. Now, that's a 6-digit figure if they go out into the world right now. Police departments and everybody's using it now to fight crime. But this goes beyond what a lot of people realize. I talked to a couple of band students one time that if they love playing instruments, they can go in the military and play their instrument. That would be their job. So there are so many opportunities through this program, and it's just unbelievable. And I would also like to note that group of young people was about 60% male and 40% girls. So there's a lot of girls in these programs because they get opportunities that they probably wouldn't get elsewhere. And all I got to say is we really need to thank the superintendent of Gloucester for letting our children attend there. We have 3 attending this year, and I think we have 1 coming on board. I wish we had a couple more, because this program, I've kept in contact with the kids in there, and these kids have really learned a lot this year that they wouldn't have learned this kind of things just being in high school. So there's an opportunity. You parents out there might want to check it out, because I'm going to tell you, people that go in the military, and I'm not advocating that they go in the military, they can take this and go about what they want to do. But people that come out of the military, employees love them because they're disciplined and they show up on time. And they love to hire military, so I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Mr. Dobson. Ms. Diggs?
I wanted to particularly thank Mr. Matheson and his wife, who were over at Richardson's the other night, and for all that you all have done for our schools and that fundraiser, et cetera. Hats off to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Morgan, any comments now?
Okay. Didn't know if it was working or not. I apologize. I would just like to respond briefly to Mr. Dobson's comments on not offering carpentry to 8th graders. And I know that if you go back in time, in fact, I was in 8th grade right here in Thomas Hunter School. Well, in those days it was Matthews Intermediate, but I was in 8th grade right here, and we had a wood shop. I remember very well. Things have changed quite a bit over the years, and now carpentry is under the CTE umbrella, which is Career and Technical Education. And if you go to the CTE resource website, you will find that carpentry falls under the architecture and construction umbrella. And that also encompasses building trades, plumbing, electric, HVAC, cabinet making, so on. There is no more, according to the CTE Resource Center, there is no more wood shop. You either take carpentry, which is a 3-year program, the building trades course is a 2-year program, cabinet making, I believe, is 2 years, and so on. And they give a grade level recommendation. And for carpentry, and I know this because I taught it for 7 years, for carpentry, it is recommended, not written in stone, mind you, but recommended for 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. Building trades, I believe, is the same. Building trades, people get the two confused. Building trades encompasses masonry, carpentry, plumbing, and electric, all in one course. Not to say that we had ninth graders all the time taking carpentry, but the state recommendations are 10, 11, and 12. So things have changed quite a bit, and I know that the guidance office and administration got their hands full, but I'm not sure that be the best idea to offer carpentry to eighth graders, even if some are probably qualified, so to speak. But if you're going by what the CTE Resource Center recommends, it would be for 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. So if that helps you any at all, Mr. Dobson.
I'm just trying to see that the children can get additional items, because that's what we're telling everybody, so.
Thank you. Dr. Gibbs, do you have any comments at this time?
Yes, two comments. Well, actually, probably just one, because my second comment will be what you just said. Could you turn over some of those eighth grade concerns to Dr. Daniel to discuss? But the other comment was, I would request if Ms. Turner, I'm very interested in this information she's talking about, if we could have all the specifics on that, so we can learn more about that and investigate and spread the word.
Dr. Gibbs, she provided each of us a little packet.
Okay.
So we do have
Great.
some.
Excellent, thank you.
We have visual aids. Okay.
And I do not, so
Thank you. And anything else you'd like to say, Dr. Gibbs?
Just that I think we do need to turn the eighth grade move questions over, and we will have an eighth grade update. Perhaps Dr. Daniel would integrate that into addressing some of the citizen comments at that time or now, whatever you think is best.
Okay, thank you. Again, I appreciated all the speakers tonight raising concerns. Mr. Mathewson, again, I thank you for your support of our schools, not just at Richardson's recently, but continuously. You are out there and you're a great cheerleader for us and a doer. We're most appreciative of you and like-minded citizens who, very much are the cornerstone of our school division. We need that community support, so thank you. I think too, the meat of what I was hearing tonight with some of the challenges for the students that are going to be rising eighth graders, we need to include Dr. Daniel in the response. We may not be prepared to do that tonight, but we heard what you said, and I don't know if you want to speak on it tonight or if you'd rather.
I can address some of them.
Okay, thank you. But certainly you've been heard, let me just say that. We have heard your concerns. Sure. Yes, please, thank you, Dr. Daniel, thank you.
Are we ready to go to Section 8?
Oh, okay, yes, we're going to do it in the superintendent's information report, so yes. No, any other school board comments before we move on? Okay, so we're going to 8.1, which is, we'll start out with the budget update.
We'll talk about budget a little bit in two phases. So we'll talk about this current year's budget. So we are getting to the end of this fiscal year. We are pretty tight with regards to finances getting through the end of the year. We should be good, but we are making sure we're squeezing the budget. For reference, this year our budget was based off of 875 students. We are currently at 782 students, which results in a deficit of about $500,000 in state funding this year. We've been able to absorb all of that thus far thanks to the county reallocating the rollover money, in addition to what we have in ESSER funds remaining and grants kind of remaining. So some of that COVID money was well apportioned over the last several years to provide us support with that. But that decline, we've been able to manage it, but it's going to be tight. We're anxiously awaiting July 1 and kind of the new budget cycle to be able to provide some relief and to kind of get some, make some purchases to get us in shape for next year. Looking at next year's budget from the state, based on, we don't have the official calculation tool yet from the state. We anticipate getting that on May 31st. We've got one number that was presented. That number is based off of the state's estimate for us being at 761, which I think is low. But as we're looking at estimates, we're anticipating an additional $200,000 reduction in funds from the state next year. That's due to our local composite index going up and some of the changes with the budget and calculations and other factors within the budget. We'll have a better idea or a more precise accounting of that once the calculation tool comes out. But we're kind of figuring about an additional $200,000 shortfall in state funds for next year. So as we're looking at retirements and staffing positions, and we're looking at contracts and everything that we can do to where we can find savings, but make sure we're still providing services for students, we're doing that. With regards to the county budget, we're having conversations with the county. Those conversations are ongoing, both regarding overall funding, but also targeted funding towards increasing teacher salaries. So we have the proposed budget for the school board tonight so that we can look to approve a budget with the understanding that we're going to have to come back and amend it once we get a final allocation from the county. But talking with them, their proposal is that they're starting with a 3%, and we're working with them, and they're working with other departments to try to find a way to have an increase more than 3%, but they're working. We're in partnership with them, trying to figure out a way to improve that raise. That's kind of where we are on some of the budget things. If there are any questions regarding budget at this time?
Yes. This is 3 years in a row that we approved a pay raise that has not flown. Northumberland gave a 7% pay raise to their teachers. That puts them way up on us. Everybody else around us that I've seen so far is only going for a 3%. I asked for 7%, and we might have got 5%. We went with 5%, and we got 3%. I think it's time, because we keep falling behind, we need to get up a little. And the county found a whole lot of money for some other things. Well, maybe they need to get off their butts and find some money for this. Because this is 3 years in a row that when the teachers got their first paycheck on the new thing, they got walloped and realized, hey, I didn't get what I was told. And I think this is 3 times as too many. So that's where I stand on it.
Are there any more questions about the budget? Now, remember, we do have an action item and later on in the meeting where we're going to vote on the budget. So so it's questions right now to Dr. Daniel about what he just said.
Yeah. One question, Dr. Daniel. I know this probably doesn't affect the budget that we're going to vote on in a little bit, but the Virginia state budget that was signed by the governor includes a 3% raise for teachers for fiscal year 25, and then again another 3% in fiscal year 26. Do we know how that affects us? Because I know the last time that happened, it was a 5% raise over a 2-year period, and we got nothing. Do we have any idea how that's going to affect Dutchess County?
So the way, when the state talks about giving a 3% raise to teachers, it's a 3% for all SOQ-funded positions within a school division. So SOQ positions range from assistant superintendent down to a handful of teacher assistants. It does not cover every position that we have within the school division. So for example, and I'm throwing this number out there, but so based on our enrollment, say at second grade, the state may say we only need 1.4 teachers in second grade. We have 3 teachers at each grade level in the elementary school, but we're only going to receive state funding for whatever I said, 1.45 or whatever number I made up. It's less than the 3 that we actually employ. So the state has what's called a prevailing average that they use to say this is kind of a average teacher salary that they then assign to SOQ positions, and then they skim off our local composite index. So our local composite index for the next biennium is 0.5904, I believe. So that's roughly, we'll get 41% of the, 1.45 teachers, and that's kind of what we get in terms of salary support towards that 3%. So Ms. Lau went and did a little digging. So a 3% pay raise for our division is roughly $390,000 or so. I'm looking for a head nod. Yeah, so it's roughly about $390,000 for a 3%. What we anticipate getting in state funding to support that, I think is like $120,000, $127,000. Is that what we talked about today? So we get a little less than a third of what that state pay raise would be. So we're having to cover the rest of that with local money. If that makes sense?
Well, yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying. I think the state budget is very deceiving, I should say.
Yes.
It makes it sound like that localities are going to receive something, and in reality, we're only going to get a small percentage of it.
Right.
Okay,
That's
thank
true.
you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, any other questions?
Are we gonna find lottery money?
When I look at the calculation tool, it'll tell us what kind of the lottery categories are. Part of the budget, I believe, is there's state money available for construction grants and construction loans, but there is a fund, there is a line item within the budget that's open, that's part of the lottery category or the lottery category funding. But in terms of where all the lottery money goes in the General Assembly, I won't ever be able to answer that for you.
Well, I thought that they said years ago the lottery money was strictly for the school. So when they pass a budget, they shouldn't be including that lottery money because that is on top of that.
I would say it's akin to when we pay Social Security, it's sitting in a bank waiting for us to withdraw it someday, and that's not really the way it works.
No, it's not.
So I think the lottery funds have, over the years, come to supplant funding instead of supporting funding.
All right, any other questions for Dr. Daniel, Dr. Gibbs, do you have any about the budget? No. Okay, thank you.
So attendance update, so taking a look at attendance. So we're still trending in the right direction with regarding attendance data. Again, we're looking at much improved attendance rates at all 3 buildings. That's due to the dedication of the attendance clerks at each school, coordinating with THMS, working with administrators, making phone calls, emails, making sure we're getting kids to school. I think our improving the attendance policy has definitely helped, has given the schools some teeth. I think one of the things we're going to need to do this summer is revisit the attendance policy again to have some conversations. Do we still need to tighten up the attendance policy a little bit more? We had the conversation last summer to put caps on parent notes as the first attempt to improve our attendance. So we can go back and have conversations to see if we need to add more criteria, more impact to the attendance. Because right now, after attendance letters, the only thing we have is referring to court services. And there's not a ton of support within court services for truancy cases. So we're left to ourselves to kind of figure out how else we can help incentivize students to come to school and families to get their students to school.
But it would seem from the data I'm seeing here, if we don't take a deep dive between now and the end of school, that we have significantly improved over last year, which, should I make the leap then, that when the data comes from the state and it reviews this, that we will not be in the, I'm not sure what to call it, the risk area that we were last
Yeah, I don't
year?
anticipate attendance being in the red for us. It's probably still in the yellow for us because it's 15% missing no more than 10% of the days to be in the green. So if you're over 15% of your students missing more, in our case, 18 days, then you kind of go into the warning area. And then I think it's, if once you get over 25%, I think you go into red, somewhere around there. I may be off on those numbers. It may be 30%. So our schools last year, just kind of pulling from memory, I think we were in the mid-20s at the elementary school and middle school, and I think we were in the low 30% chronically absent at the high school last year. So the high school was
significantly better.
It is significantly better. Sure. Okay, a little bit on 8th grade. I'm sorry, any other questions on attendance before I move on? I'll take that as no. Okay. So 8th grade move update. So I've heard from a couple folks concerns about the exploratory wheel in 8th grade. I will offer a little bit of insight as to the challenges and kind of some of the thinking behind that. So Mr. Morgan alluded to it already. So part of the issue with elective classes has to do, especially with career and technical education classes, is that we have to have specific courses that then line up with grade levels and also line up with teacher licensure. So in order to offer classes, a teacher's license has to line up with what is also in the SCED codes, what are approved courses in the Department of Education. What the high school was finding was that there were challenges lining up classes that our staff were licensed to teach that could then also be available to 8th grade students. What we have done, so yes, there is going to be some busing between Thomas Hunter and the high school next year. Part of that is to expand Ms. Williams's FCS course offerings to allow a 9th grade year-long expansion of FCS to high school students. To be able to keep that happening for 8th grade students and sharing both the space at Thomas Hunter, that is the Family and Consumer Sciences class, and also make the schedule work, that was part of what was driving kind of that wheel. We also have a talented technology teacher and her son, Mr. Williams, who is looking at ways to expand some options for some year-long classes for high school students. So in order to kind of balance their schedules and their demands in this building and some demands at the high school, we're going to move, so the high school and the middle school are coordinating with one another to figure out a way to provide planning periods for both of those teachers and make opportunities for career and technical offerings for those students. So that's part of the backdrop there. Only, I think there was, I don't remember, there was a parent who talked about all math courses for 8th graders would be double blocked. Only students in Math 8 will be double blocked next year. So students taking Algebra 1 or Geometry, those classes will not be double blocked. There are some Algebra 1 sections at Matthews High School that will be double blocked, but there are also single blocked sections of Algebra 1. Students taking geometry, 8th grade students taking geometry or Algebra 1 at the high school next year will then have more access to elective classes. So, if that makes sense.
Could I don't understand why the Math 8 would be double blocked. Help me understand
I would refer us back to our 7th grade STAR math data.
Okay, that's the reason. Okay, thank you.
And so it's looking at just, we can see from data and historical SOL data, there's a need for greater support for some of our students in math.
So it's data-driven?
It's
Okay.
data-driven, yes.
Yes, thank you.
May I,
Any other questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions?
may I ask Dr. Daniels, what is that time frame for the double block, approximately?
So at the high school schedule, so they would have math every day for 90 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
So the high school runs on a 4-block day. So they have, I would call it an A day and a B day. They have kind of blocks 1 through 4 and then 5 through 8. So there are basically on grade level math classes at the high school tend to be double blocked. So they have math each day.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm going to revisit, go back and talk with the high school administration to learn more about the challenges for not offering advanced sections in the core classes. I'm not clear as to why. I can guess as to why. When you have more singleton classes in a master schedule, it makes the master schedule much more difficult to build. But we do have singleton. When I say a singleton, that means like one section of honors English 8 or honors that one class. So that means every kid then has to be in that room at that time. So that creates a kind of a structure, a non-negotiable within that master schedule. When you have so many of those within a master schedule, it makes it then hard to fit a number of students. But I'll go back and have that conversation with them so I have a better understanding of their thought process and some of the challenges, and to see if there's a way to expand some offerings in terms of advanced coursework in those core classes. Any other questions?
Any other
with eighth grade?
questions for Dr. Daniel on that, on 8.3? Okay.
8.4, review of Matthews County Public Schools strategic plan proposals. We, during our board retreat, members from the School Board Member Alliance presented a proposal to partner with Matthews County Public Schools on strategic plan development. Today, we heard from, some of us heard from Berkeley Group, a proposal to help us with our strategic plan development. Berkeley Group is in conversation with the county to work with them on their strategic plan. I think some dialogue from the board to hear your thoughts on, and again, we'll have a vote in a couple, I guess, next week to kind of make a decision. But I think part of the dialogue is how much outside assistance, how broad a scope, how focused, how much support do we need from outside entities? Because their proposals and their philosophies are somewhat different. Berkeley Group is probably a broader focus, whereas the School Board Member Alliance was pretty laser focused on student achievement and attacking student achievement as the main part of their strategic plan proposal. So I guess this may be an opportunity for board members to kind of, if they have thoughts and suggestions or leanings at this point. I mean, I think we can forward some of the Berkeley Group's information or post that later for you all to take a look.
Any questions?
All right, then 8.5, Matthews County Public Schools Code of Conduct Review. So if you guys, we're not ready to approve this at this point. I have reached out to Marie Walls. She's been swamped with things, so she has promised to get back with me on the search and seizure policy. That is our policy that is then listed in the Code of Conduct. But I would, if board members have thoughts, concerns, questions, please be sure to send those to Ms. Morgan as we're revising and tweaking the Code of Conduct. I would also say for the community out there, if you've got kids in school, go check out the Division Code of Conduct, kind of thumb through it, look through the pages. If you've got concerns, email them to me, email them to Ms. Morgan. Take a look at it, because that's going to be kind of the guiding documents for the division going forward, and we'll go through an annual kind of review and a tweak of that Code of Conduct. And so hopefully, I look to have this approved at the June meeting, partially because there's a dress code in there. And so I want the dress code standards to be out there before parents start doing back-to-school shopping. So that's a big part of it.
So how will parents be informed about the change in the code of conduct regarding clothing?
So what we can do is once we have it approved, division-wide dress code, we can push that out. Okay. We can do some announcements. We can do kind of the mass email, do a communication campaign, and make sure that we're sending that home.
And I might add that maybe the clerks, the registrars at the schools, if they have students moving here, give that to them when they register, if it's during the summer, so they are aware of that before school begins. Thank you.
Okay. All right, 8.6, first review of the non-resident student agreement. So what that is tuition. Basically, it's a tuition student contract. So last month, we had the first review of tuition students, our procedures and policy. That's up for action item. We wanted to make sure that we then had a contract in place for parents of non-resident students to then sign. We've, in the past, just given parents letters once they've been approved, but we felt like it was necessary to have a signed acknowledgement of the policy and the understandings that are in place. So first reading is for you all. It's an exhibit. Typically we don't do board votes on regulations or exhibits, just policies. But because of your reviewing everything else and taking some vote on everything else, we went ahead and wanted you to take a look at this and peruse it. It's basically the verbiage is taken from the policy. It's just kind of made with a signature at the bottom. But.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
In this thing on item 2, we understand that there will, oh, wait a minute, wrong one, hang on. Here it is, item 3, I'm sorry. We understand that we are responsible for providing transportation for the student to and from school. We are?
No, so the parent is. The parent's responsible for getting their kids to school.
Gotcha, okay.
So we're not saying that we're going to provide a Matthews County school bus to pick them up.
I must have read it wrong. And now, the teachers that are not paying anything now, that live out of the county, will remain not paying anything?
That is my recommendation, yes.
All right.
We have that on the action item today.
All right, but new teachers will pick up the tab then?
That is not my recommendation.
I'm sorry, I didn't, can you repeat that again? I didn't understand.
New teachers will not pick up the tab. So you're going to continue the process of giving teachers a break?
Yes. I mean, that's a board vote, but it's my recommendation that we're consistent with teachers who are bringing their children with them, that they come to schools tuition-free.
Takes money
But
away.
that's in our action items. Thank you.
Just some notes then on 8.7, elementary pre-K graduation is Friday, May 31st at 9 o'clock in the elementary school cafeteria. The Thomas Hunter Middle School 7th grade graduation is Wednesday, June 5th at 11 in the Thomas Hunter Middle School cafeteria. The 8th grade graduation is June 5th at 8:30 in the middle school cafeteria. The elementary school fourth grade graduation ceremony is June 6th at 9 o'clock in the Matthews Elementary School cafeteria. And finally, one that Ms. Gray does not have to lead is the high school graduation, Saturday, June 8th at 10 o'clock in the Harry M. Ward Auditorium at Matthews High School. 8.12, employee retirement awards presentation. So we're doing that a little bit differently this year. So we are going to recognize our retirees at the June school board meeting. So they can all attend, their families can attend. It's not kind of in the middle of the day. We've encouraged the schools to kind of do celebrations for them, but the formal occasion will be here during the school board meeting while we'll present them with some appreciation at the school board meeting. Part of that change in that celebration is years of service is being moved to convocation in the fall, so we'll recognize folks with years of service pins, but that will be done at convocation when everybody is at the auditorium. So, school board information items, 8.13. So there are several things in the information items. So part of that is recognizing the high school for their exemplar performance awards for increasing their on-time graduation rate. Again, I think it was mentioned in Zoe Camp's remarks that one of 27 schools in the state to be recognized for that. So there's some examples. Those have been posted onto the website, kind of the banner, the little digital badge, if you will. You have financial reports. A thank you to Richardson's for their continued support. Richardson's generously donated meals for us during our work session. So that was gracious. They've been a tremendous partner to us. So much gratitude goes out to Richardson's. One of the things that had come up in some board conversations was I think some board understanding of professional development and activities that teachers are doing during the summer. I think hopefully it's a fading notion that teachers just kind of don't do anything over the summer. But we wanted to try to articulate kind of all the things that our teachers are doing over the summer. So there's a list of some of the optional and required professional development that our teachers are participating in over the summer in preparation for the next school year, and some of the things that we are looking at doing and implementing next year as well. So that's quite a lot. We don't get into the number of hours all those things are going to take, but it's a pretty substantial list of events and trainings and professional development that our teachers are continuing to take on.
Do we have any questions for Dr. Daniel? Dr. Gibbs, do you have any questions?
Oh, thank you.
Okay. I think we're on number 9.
Number 9, 9.0, school board information reports, school board chair. Dr. Gibbs, do you want to speak about love work, or would you prefer I do that?
Please go ahead if you don't mind.
Okay, thank you, certainly. As you will recall, last month, Mr. Bowen from the Board of Supervisors spoke about the possibility that each of our schools do a love work sign to put in our schoolyard, and the creativity would be up to the students individually or group. It was not really decided. The funding, Mr. Bowen believed, would be supported through our community. But it was, through our discussion, it was believed that putting such signs in our schoolyard may invite individuals that we prefer not to be in our schoolyard. There are many pictures taken across the state of it's just kind of sight to have a picture taken in front of a love sign wherever they are. The school board, by consensus, just agreed that this was probably not the best route to use these love signs in the school. Possibly, we could share with Mr. Bowen that maybe at our Parks and Recreation would be a place to do that, and maybe our students could participate in developing that. But to have it in our schoolyard was, our school property was pretty much agreed upon that that's not how we wanted to proceed. Any questions on 9.1? Okay. 9.2, school board summer work session. It's on Wednesday, July 17th, beginning at 9 a.m. and ending at 3 p.m. And it's going to be at Chesapeake Bank in the community room. 9.3, school board conferences and webinars, present, past, and future. There is as Ms. Morgan is always on top of, letting us know which ones we need to take before our deadline. So we are certainly aware of that. Do we have any questions about that? And also, we have other additional conferences. I'm trying to pull it up right now. I believe there's one in June on the law. I would ask you to consider taking that. They just present the new laws as passed by the general policies, laws passed by the General Assembly that impact schools. But that information is for you to read and review. And if you're interested, please let Mrs. Morgan know. Questions? Okay. 9.4, board and committee reports by school board members. Superintendent? Under this, we have listed when we are to attend the Matthews Board of Supervisors meetings. And so, May 16th, Mr. Morgan, I assume, attended. The next one, June 20th, I will be attending.
Actually, I was unable to attend in person. I was ill that day myself and couldn't make it, but I did watch it on, I did watch the video on computer.
Okay.
But it was pretty much, the whole topic pretty much was budget.
Okay, thank you. And I believe you attended in person, did you not, Dr. Gibbs? Yes. Okay. So someone was present there, and I believe Dr. Daniels, as always, is present as well. Any questions on committee reports? Any other reports of committees or boards that you've participated on that you want to share right now?
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
When are we going to get back and have the committees that we haven't used at all this year?
Can you be more specific?
Yeah, you got 4 or 5. You got one working one with professional type people. You got the committee on common things. I can't remember all the names anymore. It's been so long since I've seen them.
So I have a faculty and staff advisory that I meet with, and then I also have a planning council that is community members that I meet with. So I think there are some board members on CT advisory. There's special ed advisory. There's health and wellness advisory, and then there's a federal programs advisory committee. Those other ones, those last 4 are state mandated.
I haven't seen anything on a bunch of them lately.
I typically don't. I use the faculty and staff advisory as kind of a sounding board, a bit of a problem-solving meeting, and then planning council is kind of this, usually pretty much the same agenda, just to have a different group of folks, different perspectives.
We had our third PTO meeting at Matthews Elementary the other day. I was not in attendance on that one, but we have made great progress. We have elected a slate of officers. We have a mission statement. We have our guidelines on, what's the name of it, Mrs. Gray? Bylaws. And I also got a nice letter today from the president, Jackie Schroeder, she had gotten with you, Mrs. Gray, on putting a letter together for the parents to officially begin next year, but they have basically started and will help some with field day. They helped a bit with teacher appreciation, though that was mainly already set. But I'm tickled with that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Dix, for helping to spearhead that and get that in place, and as well, Ms. Gray, and all the folks, all the parents that make that work. So thank you. Okay, we're going to move to action items now. 10.1, as you recall, we have moved that to address on May 28th, yes, next Tuesday at 5 p.m. at the school board office. Our next action item is 10.2, approval of revised school board meeting schedule for 2023-2024. I accept a motion at this time.
I make a motion to approve the revised school board meeting schedule for 2023-2024 to relocate the Tuesday, June 18th, 2024 regular monthly meeting to the Thomas Hunter Middle School cafetorium as listed.
Do you have a second?
Second. I second the motion.
Second, okay. Any conversation, questions, comments?
Just a note that that move is being made because it's primary voting day.
Thank you. Okay, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of approving the revised school board meeting schedule for 2023-24, respond by aye.
Aye.
Okay, aye. Motion carried unanimously. Okay, 10.3, approval of revised and new school board regulations, application and exhibit for non-resident students. I accept a motion on this.
I would move that we accept this proposal as stated to approve the revised and the new school board regulations, application, and exhibit of non-resident students as written.
Okay, thank you for the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Do we have any questions about that? Dr. Daniel spoke about it a little bit on one of the components. I think this tightens things up. It makes it clearer from my perspective. So there's no misunderstandings coming in.
Yeah, I agree.
Dr. Gibbs, any other comments?
No, I agree with exactly what you said.
I do recall a time when, it would get to graduation time. This has been years ago, and some parents still had not paid their tuition for the year, which it makes it very, very awkward for everybody when that happens. So, any other comments from my colleagues? Okay, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
No.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Anybody opposed?
Yes.
Okay, motion carried 4-1. 4 approved, 1 opposed. Okay, 10.4, approval of requests from Matthews County school employees for tuition waivers for 2024-25 school year. Accept a motion on this. As you know, the attachments are for those teachers that we know are returning next year and students that they would like to attend Matthews schools.
I move to approve requests from Matthews County school employees for tuition waivers for 2024-2025 school year as listed.
Okay, do we have a second?
I I second it.
Okay. Questions, comments? I count 16 rough draft, just a rough count of the number of students that would be coming here. And did I hear earlier today that it's $6,000 per student approximately? I think that that's a significant amount to our coffers that we get from the state that we would not otherwise get. I just think we need to keep that in mind. I know there's been some mixed opinions about this. But that's a, to my mind, that's a significant amount of dollars we can add to our budget. Any other comments, questions? If not, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of approving the requests for Matthews County school employees for tuition waivers for 2024-25 school year, respond with an aye.
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 Aye. Okay, all those opposed?
No.
Okay, motion carried, 4-1. Okay, we have 10.5, approval of Matthews High School crew team overnight trip. I'll accept a motion on that.
I recommend that the retroactively approve the Matthews High School crew team overnight trip to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, May 16th to 18th for the Cup Regatta that is approved, and approve the overnight trip to Camden, New Jersey, the 23rd and 25th of May for a Scholastic National Championship as listed.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions, comments at this time? I just need to say it's been a while since I've seen this come up. It's exciting that our crew team has again gotten to this point. It's very exciting and a great opportunity for our students.
Amen.
Any other questions, comments? Dr. Gibbs, anything?
No, thank you.
Okay, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of retroactively approving this crew team overnight, respond with aye.
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 Aye. Okay, motion carried unanimously. We'll move to 10.6. Approval of request for a school bus and driver from Matthews Memorial Library. Accept a motion.
I so move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the request for a school bus and driver from Matthews Memorial Library on Friday, June 14th, 2024 is listed, and we have a motion and a second. Do we have any questions or comments about that?
If you have a chance on that day, it's bagpipes and they play beautiful music, and they play the old Scottish games. They throw what's supposed to represent a telephone pole, and the kids enjoy it.
Thank you. Okay, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of approving this request from the Matthews Memorial Library respond by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carried unanimously. 10.8, approval of request for school buses and drivers from Matthews Firework Committee. Take a motion on that. I accept the motion.
And point 7, did we skip to point 7?
Oh, yes, sir, thank you very much. 10.7, we'll have to back it up. This is Matthews County approval from the Matthews Land Conservancy for the use of school bus driver. I'll accept a motion.
I suggest that we approve the request to use the school bus and the driver from the Matthews Land Conservancy as listed.
A second?
Second.
Okay. Any questions about this? Okay, call for the vote. All those in favor of approving this request, respond with aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. Anyone opposed? Motion carried unanimously. We're back on 10.8. approval of requests for school buses and drivers for Matthews Fireworks Committee.
I'll make a motion, we approve the school bus and drivers for the fireworks committee.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the request for 2 school buses and drivers for the Matthews Fireworks Committee on Thursday, July 4th, or Friday, July 5th, which is the rain date as listed. Any questions? I did hear something this past week that there might not be this. It might not occur because the request from the sheriff's office was that they needed more law enforcement to assist, and that wasn't forthcoming.
Not aware, I spoke to Jeremy Elliott this afternoon.
It was a rain delay. If they go to a different day, like the next day, they got too many people on vacation or something.
Oh, I see.
No, right,
Okay, I
yeah,
got you. Okay.
that sounds familiar.
Okay, I didn't know if it's still, we need to still approve this. Okay. So we have a motion and a second, and I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, respond by aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay, motion carried unanimously. 10.9, adoption of grades K-5 VA Literacy Act Core instructional materials for 2024-2025 school year. Is that an action, a motion?
I make a motion to adopt the grade K-5 Virginia Literacy Act Core instructional materials for 2024-2025 school year as listed.
You have a second? Is that Dr. Gibbs second? Okay, do we have any questions about this? Comments? I do, actually. I mean, we have to adopt a literacy program, so if we chose, this is just deciding which one we want.
Yes, from the state's approved list.
From the state approved list.
So we had a robust process, a committee that's been meeting all year, committee of 12 people, that teachers, administrators, reading specialists, special education, teacher representative, we've had parent, community, and they've done a lot of careful analysis of all of these different options. We've looked at national studies, comparative data, standards alignment, you name it. And that's just what they did as a committee after the state had already been through a very detailed vetting process. So I am confident in their recommendation and want to support the selection that the teachers have made so that we can move on with making a purchase, getting some materials here, and getting professional development scheduled for the summer months.
Okay, thank you. So we have I'm sorry, Dr. Gibbs? Yes.
I agree. The presentation, first of all of the offerings being placed out at the elementary school were fantastically done. The benchmark product, I think, was absolutely the correct choice. It's very impressive, and I am wholly behind this decision.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Gibbs. Okay, let's call for the vote. All those in favor, respond by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carried unanimously. Now we're on 10.10, adoption of grades 6 through 8 science textbooks for 2024-2025 school year. I accept a motion.
I'll make the motion that we adopt grades 6 through 8 science textbooks for the school year 2024-2025.
Do I have a second?
I second.
A second, okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there any questions about this or comments?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Mr. Dobson?
Again this year, Mary and myself were the only 2 board members that looked at the books. Second thing, this is all going to be changed the following year, Mr. Daniels? These courses?
Yeah, so the standards are up for adoption and review.
So this book will be used 1 year?
No, I mean, we'll continue with the book, and then we'll have, the teachers are going to, again, the book isn't the curriculum. The book is kind of a resource for teachers.
Understand that.
Yeah, just for everybody else listening at home. So as the state changes standards, our teachers have to adapt, and we have to provide them resources.
Because trying to follow this book, you can get lost. They jump all over the place. They try to teach electric, and one of the golden rules of electric is Ohm's law, and they only have a half a page on it. I didn't find them to be very good myself. And so we'll probably use them 2 or 3 years yet.
I don't know that we're going to be able to churn over textbooks on a 2 to 3 year basis. It's a pretty hefty investment for us. So we're going to have to use textbooks for a little while and then look at supplements.
Even though if
as
the
the
course
standard.
changes?
The standards, we wouldn't expect the standards to change that drastically. So there'll be some additions, deletions, moving from one grade level to another, different content areas.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments?
May I?
Yes,
may I
yes, Dr.
just,
Gibbs.
ask a tangential question regarding current textbook community review period? I was wondering if that information, those dates have been set.
I don't think we have a tentative date, but we haven't set those with the schools yet. As we entered into this phase, it reminded me that we needed to set those dates and get with the schools to kind of set up the process to make it available for community members who want to come in and review. So we'll try to get those dates established this week and then push that information out.
Terrific, thank you.
Okay, so I want to call for the vote for the approval of the grades 6-8 science textbooks. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. All those opposed?
No.
Okay. Motion carried, four in favor, 1 opposed. Okay, approval of the amended, adopted 2024-2025 school budget. Which is not attached. Okay, so the action item would be to approve the amended, adopted 2024-2025 school budget as listed. I do not see a budget
I do not see a budget.
attached. So, at this point, I don't know how we can move forward on this item. I would say it would fall on, I'm not quite sure the term. We're going to table this until the meeting on the 28th. Okay, can I have it? I'm not sure exactly what Robert's rules say on this, but what I will do is ask for a motion to table this until the meeting on the 28th at 5 o'clock. And we will then postpone it till that time, if I hear a motion in a second.
Can I ask a question?
Can we have the motion on the table first, before we ask a question, please?
Well,
I'll make the motion that we table voting on the budget until the May 28th special meeting.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Okay, yes, Mr. Dobson.
I was going to ask the question, is the Board of Supervisors going to meet on this subject before the 28th?
I
No,
think
sir.
their special session is June 6th.
Huh?
I think they're slated to meet June 6th.
Okay, so they'll meet prior to the 28th?
No.
They'll be
No.
after us.
Well, then nothing's changed, right?
The way the way it's been explained to me is they have approved a 3% increase. They are continuing to evaluate the financial resources to possibly June 6th to change that amount. It may or may not happen, but right now their budget is approved at a 3%
Okay.
increase.
All right.
But as we know, as we discussed earlier, our contracts cannot go out until we, as a school board, approve some kind of budget.
All right.
So that's the kind of the conundrum we're in.
Mrs. Hodges,
Yes.
I'm very concerned that we are not able to vote on this tonight and give the school board office the ability to deliver those contracts. I'm very concerned about that. I know we're in a pickle, but not good.
I can't.
Do you have any recommendations at this point, Dr. Gibbs, since we can speak about this, since we have a motion on the floor to table?
As you said, I'm not sure what Robert's Rules of Order would say to this point, but I would almost request I'm thinking of requesting a recess to see if there's any way around this, a 5-minute recess to see if there's any way around this. I understand there's a motion on the floor, but I think this puts the teachers in a bad position. It puts the school board office in a bad position that we cannot take this vote. And I think this was just a genuine oversight innocuously, not ill-intended, but I think this is just an oversight, and because that item should have been there as listed. But I think the consequences are severe.
Okay, what I would ask then is we have a motion on the table, but before we take a vote, I would say we take would a 5-minute recess be sufficient, Dr. Daniel, or a 10-minute recess? Which would you think we need?
Let's say 10 minutes, please.
10-minute recess?
Ms. Hodges,
Yes, sir.
not sure exactly all the policies and rules apply to the school board. I know other organizations I have been part of, and we followed Robert's rules. The person or individual who made the original motion is allowed the opportunity to withdraw that motion. I'm willing to withdraw my motion if that will solve our problem for this evening.
You can withdraw the motion. I do not know if that'll solve the problem until we take a 10-minute recess and sort through this. So, but if you would like to withdraw the motion, we can do that.
Okay. At this time, I will withdraw my motion to table this vote on this action item.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the motion is withdrawn right at this point, and we will take a 10-minute recess, and we will return at actually 8:31. Okay, thank you. Turn off your mic. to order after recess. We are on 10.11, approval of the amended adopted 2024-2025 school budget. It is attached now in your board docs. I would accept a motion to approve the amended adopted 2024-25 school board budget.
Where are we on this?
On 10.11. We are on 10.11. That's your budget.
I make a motion to approve the amended adopted 2024-2025 school budget as listed.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I second it.
Now we have a second, okay. Now we can have questions asked, conversation about it. I will just start out by saying that we need this is a 3% increase budget as approved by the Board of Supervisors for the allocation. We need to have an approved budget before contracts can be sent out. As I understand it, we are late sending them out to begin with. Now, with all that said, the Board of Supervisors is continuing to see if they can find additional funds that they'll decide on at the June 6th meeting to hopefully increase the amount of increase for our staff. So that's something that would come from them. If that occurred, we would add, I believe, was it called an addendum? Is that correct? To the contracts with the additional funding. So this is not the end if, in fact, the Board of Supervisors approved additional funding.
We hope not.
Okay. So now with that, we'll open it up to comments, questions.
It looks like $750,000 has been cut since the original one, is that correct?
From what we approved
Yes.
in February, yes, that's a reflection of going from 5 down to 3. I will also add one other comment. So there are 2 budgets listed. So they have the revenue budget, which is what we are anticipating with that 3% salary increase. We will need to go back either way and amend the expenditure budget to look at other cuts within the expenditures. But we won't do that until we have a final number from the Board of Supervisors.
So just for clarification, Dr. Daniels, we're looking at the revenue budget, which is
Reflective of a 3%
Correct.
salary increase across the board, 2% plus a step.
So that would be 17,511,000, that figure? Okay. So it's a fourth column over, and it says 2025, 2% plus step. Does everybody see that? Any questions about that? Okay, any other questions? Okay, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of adopting the amended school budget for 2024-25, please respond by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, all opposed?
No.
Okay, motion carried, 4-1. We will now move to 10.12, approval of payment of monthly claims. Do I have a motion to approve the monthly claims?
I so move.
Okay.
I second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the monthly claims. Were these monthly claims found to be in order?
Yes, they were.
Yes, they were? Okay, thank you, Dr. Gibbs. So I have a motion and a second. Any questions about the monthly claims? Okay, so I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of approving the claims as listed, respond with aye.
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 Okay. Opposed? Those opposed? Okay. Mr. Dobson, are you approving the claims?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Motion carried unanimously. Okay, at this point, it's 11.0, citizens' comments on items discussed during the meeting.
Ms. Hodges,
Yeah, oh, yes, excuse me. Yes, Dr. Gibbs.
regarding the schedule down below on that item of 10.12, could we try to fill in some of those blanks?
Oh, yes, thank you. So I'm backing up to 10.12, please. We do have June 17th for the claims to be reviewed. I thought I signed up for July 15th. If not, I'll sign up for July 15th today.
Can I do that with you?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Okay, do we have anybody that's willing to do that for August 19th?
Can't do August, I can do September 16th.
Okay, excellent.
I will take November 18th.
Okay. So we still have August left? Heck, I'll be retired August, I'll take August too.
I'll join you.
Okay. So we have us through September. The only one we have missing now is October. We'll just revisit that next month unless someone is willing to volunteer for that now. Okay. Excuse me? This is for you. Okay, I'll review them. June is Mr. Dobson. July is the team of Hodges and Diggs. August is a team of Hodges and Diggs. September is the lone Mr. Morgan. October, we still have a vacancy there. And in November, Dr. Gibbs will be the sole reviewer. Okay? Thank you. Pardon? No, I don't see that here, but I'm having a devil of a time with this computer tonight. So, is anybody willing to do it in December? I see it now. Okay, so October and December we still need to consider. We'll do that next month. So now we will move on to 11.0, citizens' comments on items discussed during this meeting.
Good evening, D. Russell, 276 Geyser Lane, Hudgens, Virginia. I was going to shed just a little bit of light on the fireworks. As a member of the Matthews County Citizens for Emergency Response Team, we are also trained in traffic control, and there are enough of us to help the Sheriff's Department on the rain date should we need it. So I do believe that will still happen. The other thing, and it kind of attaches to the rowing team, Saturday, June 1st, the Matthews Rotary is having their annual Party with a Purpose. This year, the funds raised will be donated to the capital campaign of the Owens Rowing Center at Williams Wharf Landing. This facility, once completed, will add a huge advantage to our students who participate in the rowing team and make them even better than what they already are. We've always been known for our rowing team, and this will just enhance that. Last year, just for a note, we raised over $10,000 from this event, and it was donated to Meals on Wheels. Every Party for a Purpose that the Rotary does goes right back into the community. So we hope that everybody will attend to help our students, because ultimately this is going to help our students. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Russell. Do we have anybody else that wants to comment on items discussed during our meeting? Okay. Then we have 12.0, school board reports. No reports?
I have nothing.
Okay. We now move to 13.1, closed meeting. I will take a motion to move into closed meeting.
I so move.
Okay. You have a second to move into closed meeting?
I will second that. I believe we're supposed to read the criteria.
Would you like to read that as a motion?
Well, I'd like to read it. Let me see if I can.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan.
Hang on, let me see if I can pull it up. It's not coming up for some reason.
Okay, would it be helpful if I read it? 'Cause,
Yes,
okay.
please.
I understand we have a motion and a second to enter into closed meeting in accordance with the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, Section 2.2, 3711, Print A, Print 1, discussion or consideration of personnel matters, professional staff appointments, professional staff resignations and retirement, support staff resignations, coaching appointments, and coaching resignation. And section 2.2-3711, print A, print 2, discussion or consideration of admission or disciplinary matters concerning students. So all those in favor of moving into closed meeting, respond with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Motion carried to move into closed session unanimously. I'd like to call the meeting back to order after coming out of closed session. We're on 14.1, roll call vote for declaration of subjects discussed in closed meeting. I'll take a motion to adopt the certificate of closed meeting as written.
I so move.
Have a second?
Second.
Okay. We'll need a roll call vote that what we discussed in closed session is what we said we would discuss. Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
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 Dr. Gibbs?
What about me?
Dr. Gibbs?
Yes.
Okay, so this motion carried, adopted. We have adopted the certificate of closed meeting as written. Motion carried. Now we are on 14.2, approval of personnel action. So I accept a motion to approve the personnel action as listed.
I so move. To accept it as applicable.
Second.
Okay? Call for the vote. All those in favor of approving the personnel action as listed respond with aye.
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 Aye. Okay, motion carried unanimously. 14.3, approval of additional 2024-25 personnel appointments. I'd accepted action to approve the additional personnel appointments for 2024-2025 school year as listed.
So move.
So moved. Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay. All those in favor of approving the additional personnel, respond with aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried unanimously. We're on 14.4, approval of student action. I'd accept a motion to approve the placement of a student in a long-term alternative education program.
I so move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the placement of students in a long-term alternative education program. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And I have one abstention. Motion carried. Me. We're on 15.1, which is our next regular monthly meeting, which is Tuesday, June 18th, 2024 at 6 p.m. right here in Thomas Hunter Middle School. And, okay, any questions about that? But we also have the meeting on the 28th, as we discussed earlier, on Tuesday at 5 o'clock, next Tuesday. And that's going to be in the school board office.
Right.
And so 15.2, end of year special meeting. That's Thursday, June 27th at 9 a.m. at the Matthews High School Media Center.
What was that date again?
June 27th.
June
That's the
27th.
end of the year meeting
Right.
at 9 a.m. And then 15.3, just a reminder of our summer work session on Wednesday, July 17th at 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. That is going to be at the Chesapeake Bank Community Room. I would believe we mentioned that earlier.
Yeah.
Is there any additional business we need to bring before this board tonight? Okay, if not, this meeting is adjourned.
Aye, aye.
Bless you.
Aye.